Welcome back to Python with Andrew, where we look at some short, sharp videos on Python basics. And this time we're going to look at the if, elif, and then the else statement. So a bit more complex selection, but pretty well rounds out this feature. And let me jump right into it and look at our code in VS Code. And the elif is an extension, not in every language, but certainly in Python, a very powerful extension where we have if condition 1 do certain statements, elif, which is sort of saying else if it's condition 2 do other statements, and we can do elif again and again and again, and finally we can do an else and a statement for all the remaining. So it's a good way of saying, okay, I've got not one path, if this way, not two paths, if else, but I've got multiple paths that I might want to go. In this case, that way, in this case, this way, in this case, that way, etc. Sort of like going to a very, very big roundabout where there might be 4 or 5 different exits. And depending on where I want to go, I would take a different exit. And that's the easiest way of thinking of the if and the elif. Allows us to go from one path to 2 paths to as many paths as we want. So let's have a look. We have the basic one that we had before. If the weather is raining, then it says take an umbrella. If I run that, I've made a mistake again. Forgot my syntax, so let me clear it again. All right, I like leaving my mistakes in because it gets you to see how often we make simple mistakes when we're programming, and that's okay because that's part of what we do. So to do the elif, I'll do an extra line, elif condition 2. So in this case, we're going to check if the weather is equal to sunny, no, actually cold. If the weather's cold, all right, then we're going to print take a coat. All right. And we can do elif again. If the weather equals sunny, print take a hat. And if none of those conditions are true, then we're just going to have a simple else print take lunch like we had before. I don't know why we're taking lunch in that case, but we're just making this up as a simple example. So now I've got if the weather's raining, do path 1. If the weather's cold, do path 2. If the weather's sunny, path 3. Otherwise, take lunch. Now, be very careful. This is only going to do one of those paths. It's like going to that roundabout. You can only take one exit. You can't take multiple exits in this case. So in this case, we're going to run that, and we take an umbrella. And of course, if I change raining to cold, it should say take a coat. And if I change it to sunny, it should say take a hat. And if I change it to something else, I'll call it weather is blank. Right? We don't know what the weather is. We're just going to say take lunch. Okay, so short, sharp way of looking at this. Simple conditions. Take path 1, take path 2, take path 3, take path 4. Like I said, we could have as many elifs as we want. We have one if statement, we have many, many elif, and we have one else. And in this case, we know that one of those print statements is going to happen. All right. The first one might not, the second one might not, the third might, but the fourth one always will. Now, if I took away this, or I'll just comment it out, just in case I need it later. Take it down a bit further. All right. In that case, and I go back to raining, All right, that says take an umbrella, that's fine. But if I take it back to the blank statement, there is no else. So what's going to happen? Well, nothing's going to happen because I've got no else. The first one was false, the second one's false, the third one was false. It just carries on to the end of the program. It doesn't do the else. So you can have a situation where, using my idea of going to the roundabout, if you find that you don't find the exit you want, you don't take a particular exit. You just stop or go round and round in circles maybe. Okay. So again, simplistic look, but the if and the elif extension and the else, incredibly powerful statements in Python, and we're going to see them over and over and over again. Now, remember, one last thing is that if you're not sure about these conditions or getting complex conditions, do check out the videos on the basic data types, especially the Boolean data types and all the different, if you like, equals, not equals, greater than, all these conditions and or that you can put together to have a more complex condition. So thanks for that. Again, if you like what you see, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.